What up, bass heads? Had not planned on going live today, but here we are. I'm just kind of going over some footage from this festival yesterday and kind of reviewing the fight tape, as it were. I thought it might be cool to share that experience with you. So, this song is the band I was playing with is Kamaki Soul, led by Keiko Kamaki, who is a keyboard player originally from Japan who lives here and in New Orleans. And this is one of her tunes. And I think out of all of the tunes, I think this one was the one that I was like maybe least familiar with. Not I don't want to say least familiar with, but out of the songs that I shed, they were, this was one that I hadn't put, you know, the most time on. So she sent the tracks maybe 2 or 3 days before the rehearsal. And then we had a rehearsal the day before the hit. And I put out a short yesterday because I thought it was cool. I put out a short. And some people, well, at least one person today made mention of, my economy of motion. And somebody made a comment on a live stream I did yesterday when I was kind of loosening up for the gig. Not a lot going on in that song. It's a solid, we'll call it Indian groove. New Orleans, we call that an Indian groove. In G minor. You'll also see that I do have, an iPad and charts because this was a chart gig. This was a gig that, um, you needed some signposts, right? But you'll notice that I'm not like just staring at the chart, right? Once you rehearse, the chart is just kind of a reminder. Then we got the set list right there, all good. That is Terry Scott Jr. playing drums. Thanks for the super chat, Tiny. Terry Scott plays in and around New Orleans. He does a lot of different things, but he also plays with Mark Broussard, singer-songwriter from Louisiana, who is absolutely killing. So anyway, I want to go to the solo section and talk about some things that are happening here, and just kind of, give a glimpse into like what I call the blue collar bass world. You'll see where I, have some brain freezes, some mistakes, like kind of holding on, but the recovery or whatever. I don't really have an agenda. I just want to watch this and talk about it at the same time. And glad you're here to do that. So I'm gonna start from the beginning of the solo section. So that part right there, ba 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 da 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 ba 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 ba. Like if you aren't ready for it, it kind of sneaks up on you. That's E flat F to G. There's another argument for the 5 string. So being able to get that low E flat without tuning down. So here I'm going between the root, which is the chord is G minor, so I'm just going between the root and the flat 7, don't, which is an effective pattern on a minor groove. The flat 7 is one of the money notes, right? Yeah, that's gonna rarely, if ever, sound wrong, right? That's one of the notes that's always gonna be, solid, aside from the root. Tiny said, what effects is that? There is no effect. I'm not playing with any effects. I'm just playing straight, clean bass right into my Aguilar. So that's the new Altillier Z M265 that I'm playing. I'm playing, these two cabinets are Aguilar GS112s. They do not make these cabinets anymore. Sadly, because I think it was one of their best cabinet lines. These two cabinets here I have played for well over a decade. These same exact two GS112s. And I have 3 of them. Rarely do I play with 3 of them, but my head is an AG700. The first Aguilar head I ever had was AG500, and then I used a DB751 for a while. And if you're familiar with the DB series heads, that thing is like 100 pounds. It is not at all suitable to it's not at all suitable for around the town type of stuff. So when I had a tone hammer, I had a tone hammer 500 when they first came out, and then when the AGs came out, the AG was the perfect balance between the weight of the tone hammer and the headroom of the DB751. I have two AG700s. Keep one here in the house as a backup, and then I have the one that stays with me all the time. There, ba-da-da. I'm just playing, again, the chord is G minor, so da-da-da. I'm just playing the root, the major second, and the flat third of those, of that chord, just to add some movement in there. My hand, again, because there were some questions about my hand movement here. If you've seen any of my videos where I talk about, grabbing the bass, dropping your hand down, there's not a lot of pressure, not a ton of pressure on my thumb, so I can still move around. But I really want, again, economy of motion. There's no need to move all around unnecessarily. For those folks who talk about iPads on stage, again, here's my here's my iPad on the stand, and it's out of the way. It's not detracting from the performance. It's not, and this is a different kind of vibe, right? It's a sort of a jazz fusion sort of a vibe. So whatever, it's no big deal. I did have my phone there. I was live streaming off my phone, so you probably got like this really shitty angle, but whatever. Clue Studio says, is that a GoPro? Yeah, that's what a GoPro. This guy right here is what I use. So I put this on the headstock, and then I have the GoPro tilted this way so it can get 9x16 shot for social media. Oh, I should say something too. So that is that strap that I'm using there is the CFG zero gravity strap. Now I don't use this strap all the time, but I did have the GoPro on as well. So just to kind of like compensate for the extra weight, I did that. Do any of your gigs ask to not? That's a great question. Not today. Not the gigs that I'm. Not the gigs that I'm playing mostly nowadays. I mean, there are definitely gigs where that would be an absolute no. You know what I mean? There are definitely gigs where that would be off limits, completely off limits. But you know, this wasn't one of those gigs. Wayne, I want to talk once I get through this solo section. I want to try to talk about. I want to hear more about your mistakes and why you think you made those mistakes. Just give me a minute, okay? Only thing I don't like about this strap is that this part of it, this part of it, it doesn't, it doesn't feel super sturdy. This part of the strap, I would like a little better construction there. Nothing really beats a good leather strap. But if I'm gonna do this and I can get, and I'm standing up as well, I'm gonna go on and have something that's gonna take the pressure off a little bit. But this was only a 45, 50-minute set. So instead of just going bop, 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 bop on the G minor the whole time, that's where I'm just adding, the flat 7, that walk up to the minor third, and, that same equivalent an octave higher. Okay, right there. Okay. That part I was telling about kind of snuck up on me. So, oh shit, can I get back there? Did you guys see it? You guys see it? It's not the end, it's not the end of the world, right? And nobody noticed that, but me and Terry noticed it, right? Because you can see the look on both of our faces. But then we recover and we just keep going. So at the beginning of this solo of Seizo's solo, Seizo Shibayama, also from Japan, who's been in New Orleans very, very long time, very well-respected guitar player in the city. And he plays, his main gig is Big Sam's Funky Nation. At the beginning of his solo, or anybody's solo, I want to as a bass player, I want to kind of set them up to have as much of an opening, free space before I push anything else, right? So we start adding movement as things open up. Also the communication. So we are now, I'm looking, Terry's looking, we're still vibing, grooving, everything is going, but this, it's like listening with your ears and then listening with your eyes. You got to do like both, right? So you can see us looking over to see where, where's he at? What he wants to do? Just a quick check-in, right? Ah, there it is. There it is. And I went to go grab something higher up and then had to come back and get back on that line. I wanted to check that. Let's see what we have here. So there's the point. Like Wayne saying, barely noticeable. That's the point, right? I noticed, right? And then just like, like laugh it off. Like as long as everybody like kind of gets back on the same place. That line, kind of a quick little thing, saying come bite you on the behind if you're not ready for it. But it was hot. And man, it was so hot out there yesterday. Anyway, Wayne, tell me more about what you feel like were mistakes. I want to hear more about that. While we're here, I ain't gonna be on long, but I did want to hear more about what you. Oh, you know what? To be fair, I want to let me do a full transparent moment here. Let's see if I feel like doing this. If I want to do it. Excuse me. Okay, so here's something unexpected right here that happened. Right, so Terry has a problem, with the drums. Well, what do we do? Right, Wayne, are you in a position to jump on? If I send you a link, are you in a position to jump on? Let me know. If you're in a position to jump on where you can be still and rap, you know what I mean? Let me know. So I'm not so there's what happened. I didn't know what happened. But what happens? What are we able to do? What are we able to do? What do we have to do? What is expected? Do we just stop because he has a problem? No. So once again, G minor. We're still in that if that's your boyfriend area. You know what I mean? All that stuff. I could have played that right there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all like. So Wayne, you say like if they never stick to arrangements, well, that's not really your fault though. You never rehearse. You don't stick to arrangements. Somebody's got to drive the ship, right? So you're saying you never rehearse, you don't get, you get the songs from YouTube, and then they don't stick to the arrangement. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's hard to like kind of respond like via the text, but yeah, I mean, if you are familiar with the material, and if you're the bass player, you have a little bit more space to assert some dominance, if it as it were. But also somebody's got to be in charge. Somebody's got to be in charge. Somebody's got to be organized and run the ship. And you know, I've yeah, that's what an MD is for. I don't have a problem with being on the bus. You know what I mean? If I, being a passenger on a bus, if I know where the bus is going, somebody got to, I was playing, I used to play with this band a couple years ago, and one of the staple songs was What You Won't Do for Love. And every time I played with that group, it was amazing to me that nobody would really play the line. And one day honestly, I got frustrated and I played it and I was like, hey man, somebody's got to play that line. It's the song. It is the melody. Somebody's got to make that. Somebody got to play it. Somebody got to drive the bus. I can't though. The MD does. Well, is the MD? I mean, nah. Listen, you got to follow the rule. What the MD is saying. But if the MD ain't saying nothing, then you can only do so much. Dang. on a second, y'all. I had a power issue. Wayne says, well, I mean, Wayne, that is kind of on you though, right? So when we're learning songs, when I'm learning songs, I think about, there's a, songs are built in blocks, right? So you'll have an A groove, a B groove, maybe a C groove, right? So you have a verse, chords, and whatever the bridge is. And so you want to know what the main idea of each one of those grooves is. Now, I'm about to bless somebody real quick. I think I might have posted this at like 4 a.m. or something, but this is going to be a real eye opener for somebody. And that is this. Unless you're playing in a tribute band, nobody's expecting you to play a bass groove note for note for note. Nobody is going to be looking for you to play a groove note for note. You got to have the main idea. You got to have the main idea of what that is. And then, you put the puzzle pieces together. Like the song that we were watching a second ago. I recognize that as a block, right? As a section of the tune, right? The B section of the tune. And the B section sounds like this. And this is kind of a bad example because that line is written out. It is what it is. There is no room for interpretation. The line is written, right? And if the band leader gives a cue, good band leaders, I don't mean good people or bad people, I mean good band leaders are going to give you that cue in, that's kind of unfair to say good or bad, but it's all I got. They're going to give you that cue in enough time for you to react to it. You'll know when it's coming, right? It shouldn't be a surprise to you. I'm trying to think of a song. God, there's so many. There's so many where, you just... You just have to have the idea of those sections. Oh, I know one I think is a good example. The song Valerie. I call that the faith rhythm, right? I want to get some of me nights, right? We know that that's the part. Right. Some people want to play. I've had people play that in a neo soul groove or whatever. There's that part. So it goes from E flat to F, right? Around here, a lot of times people will ride on the E flat until the singer starts singing. And then they go through the form. Don't, and the singer may be talking or whatever, and then don't, then go to the F, right? Then there's the B section. Since I coming home, A flat to my G, been a mess, and I did and I made it. Around here, and I say around here, but I think a lot of people do this. They go, since I'm home, G. Miss your tender hair and the way you like to dress. Bump, bump, bump. Right? These things kind of travel like language, right? On the... I don't always do it like that. Sometimes I'll throw a whole nother lick in there because the other thing gets boring. But now the second time that B section happens, I'm sorry, the second time, the next verse is twice as long as the first. That's one example, right? So I just know that there's this groove and there's that groove, and the second verse is going to be twice as long. Another example I have is Never Too Much. I'm going to just say this. Musical maturity is when you don't have to have a discussion about how the next part comes in. You ain't got to count it. You ain't got to talk about it. You ain't got to do nothing. You just, the first part, bam, 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 don't go, bam, bam, never too much, never too much, never too much, bam, 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 bam. You should not have to have a discussion about it. You just need to listen to the tune and know the tune. You ain't got to count it out or nothing, right? G.E. Brown says, although you learn the songs, do you adapt, adjust to your bandmate drummer? If I have to. I mean, I'm always communicating with the drummer. The drums and the bass have to communicate. To me, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but to me, the sign of a good drummer, let me say this again. The mark of a good drummer is not how well they play 777, 9311 or any Tower of Power song. The mark of a good drummer, to me, is how well they play Superstition. That's going to bless somebody. Somebody going to catch that all up in their shondo. The mark of a good drummer, to me, is how well a drummer plays Superstition, not how well they play Squib Cakes. There's something about the feel of that song. What's up, Jade? Something about the feel of that song that's gonna let me know whether or not I'm gonna be happy or miserable. It was good to see the Atelier Z pass the blue collar bass check. It appeared you were able to focus. I'm gonna tell you something about that bass that I really, really enjoyed. Is that the bass sort of disappeared in a way. I didn't have to focus on the bass. The bass became, it's in the case right now, but the bass really kind of just, I was just able to play, and I was able to trust it. Jade is from Texas. She might, oh, Jade, my bad. I ain't mean to give, I ain't say where she was in Texas. My bad. I shouldn't have said that. You Southern folks, we are pew pew people, and so I feel like I need to trust my instrument in the same way that I trust that. If you understand what I'm saying, I need to not think about it. I gotta not think about it. You know what I mean? My mic low, again, I've said it before, is 35. And I've had that bass since 2011. And I've played tons and tons and tons of gigs on it. Tons of gigs. I trust it. But it's long. So down in the lower registers, after a while, depending on how long the gig is, I can feel that, So the Atelier Z is the shortest bass I've ever owned. The shortest scale. Well, not ever, but certainly the shortest I own now. But I was so happy to get it. I was so happy to get it in time to play it on that gig. On a festival gig with some musicians that I really respect and enjoy playing with. And there's something about I ain't gonna lie. There were some gigs that I had over the last couple of months where I just I was like, oh man, this is, this is not happening. Because a lot of times you have, there's a place for like pickup gigs and just kind of, but then when you have a rehearsal and there's music that has been thought about and prepared, and some thought has gone into, the time and the set and things like that, it really does make a difference. It really, 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 really makes a difference. It really does. It really does. It really does make a difference. And so, after that gig, I felt like, wow, God. It's like, oh man, there's so many euphemisms that I could use at the moment. But, the scale is 34, Wayne. It's 34. I didn't sleep well at all last night. Yeah, it's a 34. And I really want, for my regulars that are here all the time, man, y'all send some good thoughts and prayers to G Love. He's recovering, but just kind of keep him in your thoughts if you would be awesome. I was trying to think of something to say. Is your set list governed by the time on stage? Yeah. We were about to go over. And they come by and give you the 1 minute thing or whatever. So set list is definitely governed by the time on stage. Like I said, we played from. Call time was 2:00. Oh God! So call time was 2. Call time was 2:00. And being the man that I am, that means that I show up about 1:45, right? And I parked half a mile away from the venue. Not the venue, but the venue, right? I don't know if you're familiar with New Orleans, but the gig was over at the Jazz Museum, the old Mint, and I parked over by the Spotted Cat, and there was a back line. Right, so I didn't trip, but I had my cabinets in the trunk, my cabinets in my head in the trunk. So I walk all the way up there. It's about a half mile. I think I'm saying, I might be exaggerating, but somewhere around there. So I walk over there, and what y'all think the back line was? The back line was a Fender Rumble. I ain't lying. It was a Fender Rumble, like you would find at Guitar Center or like, some rock band camp, And I was like, yeah, nah, dog. It's like, nah, dog. I can't. I can't do this. So then I walked back to my car. And walked back to my car to get my rig, and I'm glad I did. Because I wouldn't have been happy with that at all. But the sound for a festival gig, man, for a little kind of haphazard little thing, they did the thing, man. They did the thing. It was cool. But anyway, I ain't gonna stay on here, man. I just wanted to pop in real quick and Gorilla Bass Amp. Yes, indeed. Yeah, the Rumble. Look, man, the Rumble is cool for like practice. Like maybe something else. but I'm grown. I'm grown. Yeah, it wasn't happening for what I was trying to do at all. At all. But I'm looking forward to more gigs with them. I got NOLA Funk Fest in October, and I have a bunch of you know, bourbon and Frenchman Street gigs coming up. I think I'm swearing off weddings for just a little bit. Is the Atelier Z my go-to bass now? Yeah, most def. Most def. That thing about to get worked. That thing is about to get worked. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ain't no doubt about it. Ain't no doubt about that. Nope. Ain't no doubt about that at all. That thing about to get work. So anyway, love y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna go try to get me some rest. Um, I might do like a actual video and just put up with some clips, but I don't really want to put out a video like that, like a full length video, because that's another artist material or whatever. So I think that might be a little bit of a faux pas. I don't want to do that, but yeah, man, I'm gonna catch y'all next week. Oh, also, I'm doing I'm gonna be on a panel next weekend. I misspoke and thought it was today. It ain't today. A panel. Let me give you. It is a. Let me show you real quick. It's a symposium. Morris Hayes is going to be the is going to be one of the special guests. Let me find the link real quick for you guys. And this is, if you're into Prince, this is a good channel to check out. Let's see. Polished Solid. Let me get you guys let me show you real quick. Polished Solid is the name of the channel, at Polished Solid. I'm gonna put it in the chat. So yeah, next week there is a symposium talking about the 30th or the 40th anniversary of the Gold Experience. Now, what exactly I'll be saying, but more, there's a schedule. Morris Hayes is the special guest. You see, I got a little battery life left, so let me. Oh, here it is. Here it is, right here. Here's the deets. Here are the deets right here. The details. The details. Boom. So the Morris Hayes interview is 9:20 at 5. So if you guys want to go hit that, notify me. That should be a cool time. 5 o'clock. So go hit that. But these guys do. D'Angela she's a professor. I can't remember where. NYU, I think. But every week she does, what did Prince do this week? And it's always a fun time. Every now and again, I will pop on. I popped on to this one, but this is for my Prince fans. You know what I mean? My Prince folks. Celie McGinnis is a really well-spoken author, spoken word artist. He does a lot of dope stuff. He just did a master class out in Minneapolis. So are you still offering bass lessons? I do on occasion. Offer bass lessons. I'll be honest with you. I have sort of a love-hate relationship with doing one-on-one lessons. You know, I like doing lessons, but I also, this is kind of what I was alluding to yesterday. I'm glad it came up. You can for sure, book a lesson, for sure. I was noticing yesterday, I was scrolling through Facebook, and like every other day there's a new something promising to teach you, something. And there's varying levels of good and not so good and blah, 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 blah. And it's a free market, whatever. I don't knock or criticize anybody. But in my experience, I have come across enough people who are searching for magic pills, and I'm just getting, I used to feel like really like I don't, my production quality is not as good as this person or that person. And I don't have like the transcription on the screen. I can read and write music, right? I can read and write music. There's software I could, put all the fretboard diagrams and all that stuff on the screen. And I've said this before, and I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but like for me, as a one-man operation, that is a level of production that people aren't paying for. I got to damn near beg folks to hit the like button sometimes when they come into a live stream. You know what I mean? And so, and not only that, when I'm you know what, Palau, I apologize. I didn't mean to put that on you like that. I apologize. That's not my intention to say that. I'm just saying, please, if you want to book a lesson or lessons, I'm assuming that you got the, on the grooveschool.co page where it says store, you'll, let me put that in the chat here. So I didn't mean to imply anything about you. I'm just kind of going on a tangent that has nothing to do with you. I hope I can reel that back and you know what I mean? Yeah, my apologies. I was tangenting. You can also, Palau, send me an email at I'll put my email address in the chat as well. tgouldllc@gmail.com. Put that down there as well. Andrew, yeah, I mean, listen, this YouTube thing is a real trip. It's YouTube is great. YouTube is great, but like sometimes if you see a video that's got like a crazy, it's a whole, it's all like marketing and whatnot. So you have to like balance the crazy ass titles and thumbnails with, you know what I mean? It's a business, man. So we like, people are looking, for, I think, when folks get on YouTube and they're expecting like to just have a thing happen like that, it really don't work like that. And also I think, sometimes folks are coming late in the game, I used to get kind of teased a little bit because I had a YouTube channel, YouTuber. You know what I mean? Oh, dude, Palau says, I just hate the attitude that you have to start with. Nah, you start with whatever you're going to start with. You're going to start with whatever you're going to start with. That's my thought about it. You know, that's my thought. You know, a string is a string. You're going to start whatever you're going to start with whatever you're going to start with. But at some point, you're going to run up against at some point, you're going to run up against a challenge, right? If you started on 5-string and then you move to 4-string, well, then you're going to find the challenge of being on a 4-string. It's going to be a new paradigm that you're just going to have to like overcome or deal with in some way. And that's going to be a mindset shift. That's it. Thankfully, when I don't even remember the transition from 4-string to 5-string. My first 5-string was a Lakeland 5501 Sunburst. It was a cool bass. But didn't give it any thought. But I also did not use the 5-string. Flea says, is it easier to go for, I don't know. I didn't think about it. I didn't give a ton of thought about it until I had to think about it. And then, you know, the first thing that I noticed was, okay, well, I got to mute differently than I did before. Right? And, you know, then I was kind of introduced, you know, the internet, you know, YouTube is kind of popping just a little bit. It's starting to pop a little bit. Todd Johnson was the first person I heard to say something about a floating thumb. And then I sort of started looking at that a little bit. Never thought about it. I didn't make it any harder than it needed to be. Needed to be. Think about, this is the analogy I use all the time. Think about babies. Think about all of the babies in your life, all the toddlers in your life. Think about them looking at people around them. I want to walk. What's that they doing? How come I can't do that? You know, babies can't even hold their heads up. You know, they got to build up the muscle to hold their heads up. And I just imagine in a child's mind, I feel like I imagine in a child's mind, a child is looking and say, oh man, I see all these people and they're moving around and I want to move around too. And how can I move around? How can I do that? And, you know, they develop these muscles and they kind of stand up and they wobble and they fall down. And then they stand up and they wobble and they fall down. And then they see something and they say, ooh, you know, maybe if I put my hands up on this thing, I can stand up. They stand up and they wobble and they fall down again. But in the time that they're doing that, they're practicing, and then they're building up strength, right? They're building up strength. And then they, you know, well, if I do this, if I move my body this way, I can get from this place to this place. You see? And I don't think playing an instrument is really any different. I think that adults, we put more pressure on ourselves than is necessary. And probably because we, you know, for folks who are, you know, really advanced in other areas of their lives and do things, I think, you know, it's, you know, I think it's like an ego, you know, like a blow to the ego if they have to then get into a beginner's mindset. You know, this is why. Now, I'm going to tell you something else I've noticed. I'm going to just say it. I have noticed some kind of newer faces in the creator space, and they are taking language that they got from me. I'm gonna just say it. I don't feel like I feel like I'm arrogant in some ways, but confident. I'm confident though. I say this. I think that I've seen some newer creators, they saying some shit. I'm like, you done heard that from me. You know what I mean? What kind of music do you want to play, and who do you want to play it with? What are you listening to? One of the first questions that I ask anybody. Hold on a second, y'all. I might have to hit y'all back. I might need to take this. I have to address this. So here's the thing, right? One of the first questions I ask, especially adult players, what are you listening to? What draws you to the electric bass guitar as an instrument? Y'all get a pen and paper. I'm gonna give you something. Okay? Type of one in the chat when you have a piece of pen or something to write with or take notes with. I'm going to give you some questions that I think that that you should ask yourself. It change how you approach this thing. Hold on a second. I have a document that I really want to share with you guys. So here's the first question. All right? Here's the first question. What made you pick up the bass guitar? That's the first question. You ain't got to answer it right now, but that's the first question. Second question is who inspires you on bass? Would that be classic rock players? Would that be I'm gonna copy a link and send you. I want to send you this link in the chat. And I really would hope that you fill it out, okay? But I'll read it with you, okay? But please click that link and fill it out, all right? It also helps me to build better content, okay? The second question is who inspires you on bass? Classic rock, funk, pop, jazz, punk, right? You're not sure yet. What kind of music do you love the most? Is it rock? Is it funk? Is it soul, blues, blah, 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 blah? The fourth question is how much time, this is a biggie. How much time can you realistically play bass each week? Realistically. Now I'm telling you right now, somebody is going to try to steal this and you're going to see this shit somewhere else. And I'm telling you where you're hearing it first. Okay? I have used this litmus test since I've been teaching. At least my second year of teaching when I said, at least I got to change something, right? What skills or topics are you interested in the most, right? Why am I asking you that? Why am I asking you that? So, Palau, and I hope I'm pronouncing your life. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Um, Palau says Melodic Death. Is that a band? Melodic death metal? That's a genre? I'm looking at Spotify. This is a genre, right? So that would be something that I don't know a lot about, right? I don't know a lot about that style of music. But if I listen to that music, what are the characteristics of that music? And then what do you need to play that kind of music? I've taken you guys on this journey before. I'm going to take you on it again. I'm going to be right back. I need to plug in a bass, but just hang with me. This is going to bless somebody. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Is this other camera hooked up? Let's see. If y'all see my feet, don't say shit. Okay? If you see my feet, don't say anything. I mean nothing. I'm coming to your house. Just kidding. So listen. I got into bass when I was about what skills are you most interested in? You interested in, you interested in thumping and plucking? You interested in walking bass lines? What are you most interested in, right? And so what I think is kind of an issue is particularly adult players is if you come to me as an adult and you want a lesson, right? And then I tell you, oh, well, you have to know all these different things that takes you, could take you a year to learn, potentially, depending on your comprehension and my expression of those ideas, right? When the thing that you want to do is blah, 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 blah. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to fucking quit. You're going to quit, but for me, it's always been about reverse engineering. Always. So here was my introduction into bass. Before I had a lesson, what did I like? I really liked Prince. Right? And there were two songs, 1999 that's basically that bass line, right? And then there was Controversy. And I was so scared to venture off of the bottom string, right? I was so afraid to do that. But then I had to learn in that B section. Do I believe God? Do I believe me? And I would do it with my first finger. But what is this teaching me that I didn't know at the time? These are quarter notes, and they're played staccato. And then I learned that the chord was a G minor. You understand what I'm saying? Then I learned, you know, this reverse engineering the same way that when you are a child, you learn, babies cry. Do you know why babies cry? Somebody type into the chat in the most succinct way possible. Why do you think babies cry? Why do you think babies cry? You think because they're hungry? That's one reason. I want to go a little bit deeper than that. Not deeper, but not deep. Attention. Attention is a good one. They cry. They cry because they have a need. They have a desire of some sort, right? Whether because they broke and got no money. That's why I cried too. Orange juice. Best comment of the day. So attention. Attention is like key, right? They cry because there's some idea or need that they have no language for. They have no, they're gassy. They don't have the vocabulary for that, right? None of us have that, and then you learn, you learn along the way vocabulary. But no child on earth waits until they go to school before they communicate ideas. No child on earth waits until they learn the alphabet before they start communicating ideas. It just doesn't happen. One of the analogies that I've used before is a child rolling a ball. Let's imagine rolling a ball with a child, right? Rolling a ball. Well, the child doesn't know, one, they don't know that that's a ball, and they don't know that motion is rolling. All they know is they see a thing, it's coming to them, and they do a thing, and it goes back, and it makes them feel a certain way. That's it. That's what they know. And then when context comes into play, then they understand this motion. When somebody says roll the ball to, then in their mind they say, oh, this is rolling. This motion is called rolling. Do you understand? So G.E. Brown, what I would say is, like, it's so hard to, like, it's next to impossible to you say, that's me, the bottom string. I struggle with sloppiness on the top two strings, especially so what I would do, like in a lesson, what I would do is say, what song are you playing? What song are we trying to learn? We got to take some real material and turn that into an exercise, Yeah. So watch this. And I'm going to have to get off. I need to go take care of something, but watch this. I haven't played this song in a long time. So what happened there? What happened there? That I need to address myself, and this is the value of practicing excruciatingly slow. Let me do it again, and if you notice what happened, I'm starting this with my index finger. There's the hint. Watch the fingers. I didn't do it that time. Okay, what happened the second time around? It's almost impossible for me personally to get back to that octave with my first finger. So now I got to slow that down. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three. So. So what I did there was I said, well, if I play that open E with my index, my middle finger, it'll set me up again to be in that pattern to do that with my get to that top string with my middle finger. So now I'm telling myself, if you play that open E string with your middle finger, not trying to flip you off, the pattern, right? Sorry. How does that go again? So I haven't played this in a long time. So now, when that other element comes around, now I got to stop and say, ooh, well, if I do it like this, I got to then maybe do something else. That's the work I got to do. That's not in a book. That's the work I got to do. You see what I'm saying? Right? That's the work I have to do. And this is what I believe that Jeff Berlin, when Jeff Berlin talks about metronomes, you can't start this necessarily with a metronome. You got to take it out of time. But the metronome has to come in at some point, because when the metronome comes in, it's going to keep you honest about where you are in time. And then it's going to be a governor for your tempo. Because when you get to that top speed, that's going to tell you if you can really do it. And I'm going to be honest with you. If there's a fast line that I have to play for a live gig that I have to like really shed, I want to practice to the point where I get that metronome a little bit faster than what it is on the actual recording. Why you want to do that? Because when you get live, energy be up, shit gets faster. So I'm trying to remember how the line goes. I would turn that right there into an etude. There's your ghost notes right there. Come on, please tell me you see what I'm talking about. Come on, somebody talk to me. Thanks for the super chat, JB. Somebody please try to tell me. Somebody please tell me. You know what I mean? Boxers train for more than the required. Yeah. JB says, I try to play every bass line I like. Blues, rock. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta, I say, what's the top two? What's the top two things? And then where do those things intersect? All music is one music. G minor 7 is the same. Gonna be. That's gonna be the same as G minor. All of that was G minor. You understand? All music is one music, but why am I able to do all of those things with that one? Why with that one set of parameter, right? With that one, it's because it's like, what is? Thanks for the super chat. The chords are finite, right? Rhythm is infinite because rhythm is mathematical, but there are only so many chord types, right? And then this is an emotion. That G minor is an emotion that happens to be related to B flat major. That's all related, right? Is that the most inspiring thing I've ever played? Absolutely not. But I didn't understand that stuff much later. But you have to kind of find to learn scales and modes and stuff without context is like, you ever hear somebody say a word and they don't know what the fuck they talk about? They don't know what they mean. They don't know. I'm gonna give you. I had a coworker one time who was pridefully saying that they had half-assed something, which I don't particularly care for as a person. But you know what gets on my nerves is the use of the word literally. And this person said, yeah, I just literally pulled some shit out of my ass. And I was like, that's literally not what you did. That's not what the word means, right? That was a bad example. But you know, without context, if I say this without, you know, that's different than saying, isn't it? What about if I say, if I just go, if I just give you that, when I just give you that, that has less meaning than if I give it to you alone. Look at this. That's a C minor. C minor. All it is C minor triad. That's an A flat major triad. F minor triad. Okay, I gotta go, y'all. I gotta handle something that's kind of important. But I hope that was some nugget shit for somebody. I hope there was a nugget for somebody. I appreciate the super chats. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit that bell for notifications. It ain't rocket science, people. It's pocket science. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. 2 fingers.